welcome to the JTM Community Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Melvin. If you are watching this, you already know who our fantastic duo of guests are for the beginning and through this four-part series. If you are listening to this, we'll get to that in just a moment. Of course, if you want to touch base with me for advancement advising, you can do so at j-tm.community. If you want podcast-specific stuff, then you can just add /podcast to that. It'll take you right where you want to be. For the sake of joining our community, the easiest thing that you can do is join the Facebook group. Every day, Monday through Friday, are a daily post. Monday, you'll get a notification of a new poll, so you all determine the topics that get voted on and actually vote for those topics, and then those become episodes. If you want additional resources, both local to the Mount Pleasant, Michigan area or national resources, you can also find them on the website under Community Partners. Without further ado, we are here with our good friend, Meshayla, which you'll hear her reference as Shay throughout the episode, I'm sure. If you enjoy her, then you can check out previous episodes. She's probably in half a dozen to a dozen, as well as Branson. You might hear him referred to as asshole or dickhead throughout the episode. So if you enjoy his content, you can also find him in previous episodes. Without further ado, I'll have the two of you introduce one another. In case they don't say it, they are husband and wife.
Yes, this is Branson. My husband, he is an Army vet and an HVAC technician here where we live. He's also a great cat dad. Yeah.
And this is Meshayla, my wife, or Shay, as Jason put it, recent graduate and full-time nurse here at a local hospital. Just all around decent person, decent human being. Most of the time is all right.
Only decent.
Most of the time. Yeah. Thank you both for joining me for these four topics. Of course, the first topic being that of currency, or the currency of time and where to invest it. The second part being the fear of living a life. The third part being greatest quote and the impact on your life. And last but not least is part 4, which is past, present, and future. If the two of you are all set, we will dive into, in the event that anyone picked up on anything that just went a little hinky, we're about to dive into part 3. But first, my man had to go use the potty. We are all refreshed and raring to go. So part 3 is the greatest quote and the impact on your life. So we chatted about this a little bit beforehand, because the idea, or I think expectation of quotes, I think probably all three of us had the idea that a quote has to come from outside of ourselves, right? And the reality is sometimes the best advice, or the advice we choose to live by, comes from within. So when you think of the greatest quote and the impact on your life, what is that?
Okay, so I cheated and I looked one up because I was like, I need something that kind of resembled. And like, the one that I came across that I was like, oh yeah, that is one that I like have heard before and I've thought about it several times, is I didn't come this far to only get this far. And truly that is like, I didn't do all this shit to stop now. So put your britches on and keep going, kind of thing. And I feel like that is very much resembled a lot in life, especially like in the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Did not work this hard to give up after, one rejection from school, or one bad grade, or one job rejection as well. And kind of that perseverance and the ambition to just want to keep going.
So I love the idea, and I I can absolutely understand the application of it. How do you know when you have arrived or when you've gone far enough?
Oh, I don't know.
Is there ever enough?
Is there ever
Yeah.
far enough?
That's a
Like,
remarkably good question. Yeah.
I mean, for personal growth, I mean, I don't feel like there's ever an end to that.
I feel like it's very much like a glass ceiling. Like, yeah, there's an idea of what would be done, but there's always more that I could want to do.
Hmm.
So, like, next goal is my bachelor's, then it's nurse practitioner, then it's, I don't know, where else could I go from there? What else could we achieve? And I think there's a difference though between never feeling like you're at the ending place and just knowing that there's more that could be done.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Like, I
Yeah.
don't see it as like there's a finish line. I just see it as there's room for growth always.
I get it. I think the important distinction, if I'm understanding you, is that the context of the quote isn't narrow in its destination. It's very broad. So,
Mhm.
well, I'll go back to part one when we talked about currency of time and where to invest. And you're talking about so many things, whether and essentially your growth over months, and you on the earlier podcast to where you are now, and the fact that you would even contemplate taking a few hours to do a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So if I take that story into this context, it was in the past the idea of I didn't essentially come this far to only come this far. You might have applied to school and education.
Mhm.
And then as you achieved things and had experience of rejection and continued to develop to create the life that you have now, now the focus is just different. It's changed. It's
Mhm.
not just education related. It is now personal growth oriented, and it's taking time to build yourself and your relationships and the marriage and the idea of entertaining, purchasing a home, and so many other things that weren't
Mhm.
even part of the equation before.
Yeah, exactly.
In that sense, I would say that the answer to Branson's question is no. It's never enough. Enough just changes, right?
Yeah.
At some point, we've done all we can do because we're dead, but not anytime soon for the three of us. When you think of what was that look for?
What look?
Well,
She
look,
just looked at you when I said not anytime soon for the three of us. She just looked at you like she might be contemplating your murder.
I mean, there's no telling whether that's a possibility.
If something happens, Shay, you are on film.
are you really married if you don't joke about, every once in a while?
How much can you really love someone if you don't at least on occasion plot their murder?
Yeah. I mean, anytime you purchase life insurance, you're always like, well, how much is enough? Like,
Back to that question. How much is enough?
Yes.
When you think of that same idea, Branson, so the quote or kind of the biggest meaning and impact on your life, what do you think of what comes up? And I know you kind of addressed this in your own way earlier when you were talking about military and the guys and whatnot, which we were just chatting about in part two.
Yeah, and that honestly is kind of where it ties into. It truly is living living a life that they no longer can.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's from making the choice to go back to school, making the choice to better myself in a sense kind of deal. So regardless of what I've got going on there, like if these guys were around today kind of deal, I mean, they might be going for this kind of degree. They might be working in with a counselor kind of thing to better themselves. I mean, everything. I mean, they might be trying to get married. They may like starting a family, anything. And I just have to kind of break it down into its most simple form. And if I'm down on myself, feeling shitty kind of thing, if I have doubts, I kind of just take it back to that simple just form of, I mean, live the life that is no longer able to. And as simple as it is, I mean, it's had the most impact on my life since I got out. And I mean, this trip to DC that we had done, it really kind of brought all that together, and seeing basically and hearing the stories from all these other guys where I mean, it's verbatim. Everyone had that same mindset. And it was kind of cool hearing that, is like, well, this is how I've been in my head living kind of thing. And just hearing that from 20 other guys, it's the exact same thing. It brought everybody together in that sense. And it brought
a common bond.
Yeah. It brought more community to get together that had faded over the years. And then the other side of, that I liked, and this, I've always been a fan of Stephen King, is get busy living or get busy dying.
Oh yeah.
So in a sense, it's kind of goes back into the fear of living a life. Is, I mean, either get to it or don't. I mean, it's really what it boils down to, is in another simple form.
Sure. Is it okay? So share to what degree you're comfortable with. We've referenced it a few times just today, of the trip to DC. Do you mind giving folks an idea of like what the purpose of that trip was?
Yeah, so one of the guys that we had deployed with, he was one of the squad leaders, Staff Sergeant Piercy. He was KIA overseas, and his original wishes was to be buried in Arlington. And initially he was in California, and the family was able to get him to the east side over to Arlington. And it was a gathering of basically our entire 3rd platoon from our unit that had got together and basically did a big ceremony there at Arlington, got to see everybody. And I mean, got to see and spend time with his mother, his brother. And I mean, it was some healing that I think a lot of people needed. And it brought to light a lot of the struggles that people thought, well, not thought, but the struggles that people were having with the deployment and the past from the military. I mean, it was congruent throughout. I mean, it was dead on for everybody. Everybody had the same feelings, and there were no extremes with that group. There are extremes outside of the group, and that ties into other issues from post deployments where people are taking their own lives, kind of thing. And I think just everybody seeing that and seeing the impact that it had on everybody there and individually, I think is going to start bringing more things out in more events like that out, a better way to put it. A lot of talks of more meetings happening. There's another one possibly coming up this June for another guy that was part of our platoon that was lost on that same deployment in Indiana. So waiting to hear about that kind of thing. So it's just, there's a lot of growth and healing that came out of it. And I wasn't expecting that much. I was very hesitant, honestly, going originally. I almost kind of, to back up and kind of just brought this up as an example, is that fear of living the life. I kind of didn't want to go at first because I wasn't sure I was ready to experience that set of emotion or see that group of guys, because I just felt like I'd kind of moved on so far away from that like part of my life, that I thought I wouldn't get anything out of it besides like just seeing old buddies kind of thing. And I left with way more of a full heart than I did before, or had I not gone.
And I think just from like being able to experience and talk to some of the other guys that were there, it was a shared thought between everybody. Like everybody was kind of like a last minute, yeah, we'll go kind of thing. And then once they were there, they said, I'm so glad I did this. And even Branson was like, thank you for pushing me and like making me do this, basically. Because I was like, all right, flight's booked, hotel's booked, we're going. Like, it's going to happen. And that shared just thought process of, a lot of them were like, I didn't want to deal with this. I didn't want to face a lot of what these memories would bring. And then they're like, I'm so glad I did.
It really sounds like, though, a very difficult thing to work yourselves up to, having gone through that and having had the experience has paved the way to have a much more meaningful or intentional connections that has followed that. I mean, you had mentioned, I think you just said in June, for similar in Indiana.
Yeah.
Have the relationships with the guys grown or gotten better since then?
A little bit. I mean, it kind of everyone, like, I still reach out here and there with quite a few of them. But it seemed like it would quickly kind of took that step back for a few. And it's just trying to find the guys that are still finding the ruts and try to get them back out of them, kind of deal. Because I don't know. I feel like it's super easy for, I don't want to just say it, it's super easy for veterans to just fall back into that like rut kind of deal.
Sure.
But I feel like it is just because overall we don't really seek help. I mean, there's just that whole bravado kind of where we can make it through it kind of thing. And I mean, that's the shitty end of the stick kind of thing, is that's the general mentality that a lot of these guys have. And it's getting to that point where you can take a step back and say like, well, it's pretty fucking dumb to think that, like, kind of deal, like these statistics that are happening each day from numbers that are reported are happening for a reason. And it's because of that, the bravado, that lack of reaching out, that lack of self-awareness and being acknowledging like the need for help or something, some sort of fulfillment in that like part of your life that you're just not seeking actively.
I mean, you're definitely hitting the nail on the head there. I think an important distinction that never really gets talked about, and you said it a few times today, is you talk about the idea of, I got through yesterday, I got through last week, last month, last year, I can get through tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, right? Which is sometimes in life that's enough, right? Is the idea of getting through. But I think the distinction that we often don't make is life doesn't just have to be about getting through, right? We can create so much more, and oftentimes we don't have the understanding that that's an option that we get to choose also. Not that it's easy, right? And you're going to go through a lot of shit, and a lot of people have a lot of shit in their past, right? And experiences that they didn't necessarily choose. But things can be better than just getting through. I'm not saying all day, every day. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying when you think of the life you can choose to live, it can be better.
Oh, absolutely.
And for some reason, that message is so easy to forget. It's so easy to forget. We fall back into our own routines, which oftentimes are ruts, right? And it's almost like we become complacent in misery, which is 99% of the clientele that I work with. And I mean, I've had my own moments in life, and some of them lasted way too fucking long of becoming complacent and like my own shit at times. So I think like you expressing that, I'm hopeful that that is meaningful, not just for you, but to anyone that may need to hear that very thing as well.
Mhm.
For me, the greatest quote isn't a quote that I've seen or heard, is much more experienced, which kind of goes to what you said, the second part of what you said, Branson, which I can't remember, but in my head, what I heard you say is shit or get off the pot.
Basically, yeah. Yeah.
I know that's
Busy living or get busy dying.
yeah. Thank you. Is that same mentality, and we were chatting about it earlier, which is the idea, if something's worth bitching about, it's worth doing about. And if you're not going to do anything about it, then stop bitching. It's very, very similar, because the negativity and the thought process of complaining, if you're not making it purposeful, does a whole lot of damage, and that's what can hold us in the rut and where we feel stuck. So have been very intentional to create and lead a life. I actually was that mindset was the part of the creation of JTM community. Is so many things were happening, and I felt the world intentionally being pulled apart, and people pitted against each other, whether it's through political, religious, it doesn't matter the ideology, whatever the ideology is, that was so intentional of pulling people together. And it bothered me, and I would complain about it, and it seems commonsensical. And why are people like allowing themselves to be pulled in those directions, to create something that would bond people together, even if they are remarkably different. And so it's, for me, it's kind of that dynamic. We got about 10 minutes left of this episode, so I wanted to throw us a few curveballs, if you're okay.
Okay.
So we've each talked about kind of an impactful quote or message that has guided our lives. I was anticipating having a little bit of time, so I'm glad we do have about 10 minutes. I looked up the 10 greatest, most popular quote, or the 100 most popular or greatest quotes. So
Okay.
speed style, I'm going to read a quote, and within 3 sentences or less, what is the perception of that quote for you?
Okay.
Okay? So
Okay.
rapid fire, don't give a whole lot of thought. This is literally off the top of your head. Ready?
Okay.
This is going to go Shay, Branson, me. Shay, Branson, me. Super fast. We good? I'm I am more excited than I should be right now.
You are so excited.
So the first one is, the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Nelson Mandela.
Getting back up and dusting yourself off is a greater achievement than staying on the ground.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Branson?
Your turn.
Oh, we're just a new topic
Nope.
each one?
No, same.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I mean, that goes into the whole Batman thing. I mean, what do we do? What is the line? I forgot it. Oh my goodness. What? Do you know it?
No, I don't know what you're
Why do we get up?
Oh, yeah. Yes. He says it in the movie.
Yeah, and I'm completely drawn a blank right now. Oh my goodness.
Nope. Pass.
I'm trying to Google it super fast. Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up again.
Yeah.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's when he falls into the well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why do we fall, Master Bruce? It's so that we can learn to pick ourselves up again.
Yes, that is exactly.
Did you know
what
it the
I was
whole
going.
time, or did you look it up?
No, but you just reminded me, and then I was like, oh yeah, that is the quote.
Okay.
I
So
can't
for
believe
me, the thing that it invokes is an image, which is a phoenix. That's what pops into my head, is the idea of like rising from the ashes. Next
Okay.
one. The way to get started is to quit talking. Oh, shit. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Walt Disney.
Shitter get off the pot.
Yep, we just talked about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 100%.
Next one. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with results of other people's thinking. Steve Jobs.
Invest in yourself more and you will see more come throughout life rather than, doing so much for somebody else and investing in their life.
It's kind of what you were
I mean,
talking
for
about,
me,
dividends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for
Bring
me,
it back around.
yeah, stop worrying about what other people have going on in their lives and focus solely on what you have in your life and what's going on around you and how you can impact it for the better.
Yeah. Yep. I would say the same. It's for me would be the idea of don't waste time trying to live up to what other people think and their expectations. Is live up to yours.
Yeah.
Next one. If life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. Eleanor Roosevelt.
The day to day has value in it if you. Oh, no.
You read that one more time?
I lost
Yeah.
what I was.
If life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor.
Oh, so the curveballs are what can help you grow. So being in the uncomfortable and going against the wind will create better outcomes. I don't know. A plant that has wind, a plant that's
Shay?
blown in the wind grows stronger.
3 sentences or less.
Sorry, I broke it.
I mean, for me, it'd be don't be afraid of the unknown, and allow for that kind of thing to be in your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
To take what the two of you said, it's the curveballs, it's the unknown that is the season on my steak. It's the thing that gives it deliciousness.
Okay.
Next one. If you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. Oprah Winfrey.
You've got to value what you have versus always wanting what someone else has.
I'd say to appreciate what you have. Yeah.
Value, appreciate,
Yeah.
synonyms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get the same. It's have gratitude for what you have and don't grieve what you never had.
Yeah.
Jump into the next. If you set your goals ridiculously high and it's a failure, you will fail above everyone else's success. James Cameron. It took me a minute to get through. Want me to do it again?
I mean, that's kind of like shoot for the
Yeah,
stars,
it's exactly what came to
the
mind.
moon kind of thing.
Yep.
So if you have greater expectations, you'll still be further ahead than those that didn't have expectations at all.
I can't do better than that.
Yep. No, that's literally
Is that a mic drop from that one?
literally what popped into my head. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. John Lennon.
Oh, I've heard that one. So stop and spend some time in the moment versus always being focused on the future.
Yeah.
I mean, get rid of the ideas of grandeur and experience what you're able to right now.
Yeah. Mine is life doesn't go according to plan, so enjoy all the fucking curveballs.
Roll with it.
Roll with it. All right. We got enough time for a couple more.
Okay.
So spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. Mother Teresa.
You don't have to be nice to everybody.
That's the new quote. You don't have to be nice to everybody. Shay.
She's not gonna be a Mother Teresa. Let's just say that.
That's the moral of that story. That's why it's Mother Teresa and not Mother Meshayla.
Um,
Like that quote.
I mean, you can go about life without being a dick, and like you don't have to be nice to everyone. But I mean, you can be amicable, like at least the shared experience is amicable and to the very least neutral if you have to.
So for me, two things. One, I love seeing you try to bail out your wife. And two, what that means to me is simply leave the world a warmer place than when you inherited it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. That's a better way to view it.
Next one. Yeah, we got time. When you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. Franklin Roosevelt.
When you are at a loss, always try and brainstorm ideas to keep going.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
I like it.
for me instantly, I just thought of the cat poster. It's like hanging there and this little cat, like kitten kind of thing. It's like when it's shitty, I mean, weather the storm.
Don't give up.
Yeah, I get the same idea. It's the idea of when you've reached your limit, strengthen your foundation.
Oh, that's a good one.
The knot, right? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
next one. Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else. Margaret Mead.
Remember that everybody else has differences and you can't expect someone to be just like you.
Yeah,
Think
I
about
like it.
thoughts, yeah.
You on occasion you're expressing like a facial expression of doubt. There's no right or wrong. It's your perception. How about you, Branson?
Because I mean, I'm just going instant. First thing that pops up.
Yeah.
First thing that popped up to me with the everybody's unique is actually the opposite. Like we are so infinitesimally small in this universe that none of us.
Yeah.
How much of us really matter?
My mind went to the same, but it popped a song up in my head, which for anyone listening, the song is Special by, oh my God, I just brain farted, by Shinedown. So the song is Special by Shinedown, and it's the acknowledgement that we're not special. And it's not like a shit on you kind of thing. It's that what you just said. Like you get to take grace in the fact that who you are, what you do, the impact that you have is so insignificant that's a blessing. So be significant to the very few people that you will have the ability to have an impact in life. Because at the end of the day, 100 years from now, we ain't quoting your ass.
Nope.
Right? Not quoting mine.
Definitely not.
Well, we all did share a similar quote in different variations between Walt Disney, shit or get off the pot, get busy, living or dying, and the whole if it's gonna bitch about it, do about it, essentially.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and jump to. For anyone listening in, of course, you can check out previous episodes if you enjoyed Branson or Shay and Branson and Shay, because there's also more cooperative or co-op style episodes. I'm not making any jokes. You can check out j-tm.community for podcasts specifically. Just add /podcast to that, and you can see the past catalog there. If you want to touch base with me for advancement advising, you can also find that there at the website. Of course, for ease of joining and being a part of the community, you can join our Facebook group. There's posts Monday through Friday. Every Monday is a new episode and a new poll that you all create, and then you determine what future episodes will be. Again, both Shay and Branson, thank you for joining me for part 1, which was currency of time and where to invest. Part 2, the fear of living a life. Part 3, greatest quote and the impact of that on your life. And then the final part, which was part 4, past, present, and future. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in and for being part of a community where you belong.